Hello, everyone. Welcome. Get settled in. If you're tuning in live, please comment below. Let me know that you're here with us. We're going to have some interesting conversations today, and I have a new friend, content creator, fellow content creator, and kingdom man, Jeremiah, in the house. I'm going to bring you up on the screen, my friend. Thank you for spending some time with me and hanging out on my channel. We're going to be planning a whole workshop together that I'm really excited for. But before we dive into that, I'd like to give you the floor to talk to my audience a little bit. In fact, I'm pretty sure if some of you already know this man, comment below, right? If you're a fan of the Cash Compound channel and everything that you're doing. But yeah, I want to pass it over to you real quick, and then we're going to dive into today's topics, just on a little bit about yourself and how you got into this industry, and what does cash cultures colliding mean? What this title that we came up with? What's going through your mind, right?
Yeah, man. Denzel, I'm so happy to be here. It's been a couple months in the making since we met in person late February, I think it was this year, near
Yes.
Vegas, Henderson, Nevada, for the Nelson Nash Institute. And for those of you who don't know me or don't know what that means, it means that the idea behind infinite banking is what brought us together. So I lead the Cash Compound with my brother. We are the banking bros here at the Cash Compound, and we're in our home studio office in South Carolina, helping people all across the country with what we call the save and spend system. How to save and spend your money at the exact same time. So that's what we're all about. And Denzel and I are teaming up for a series of events that you guys are going to be able to really learn and glean from, and be able to just take some of this knowledge and wisdom that's been passed down to us that we like to share on these channels in July. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But for the last 7 years, I've been helping people get started with their own privatized banking system, the infinite banking concept, getting broken down from our offices and studios here, helping people across lots of social channels, all the ones that you love, at the Cash Compound or at the Banking Bros. And we're teaching people how to get code cracking cash flows in their life. So Denzel, I'm so happy to be here and popping up, helping your people understand who we are. Appreciate the invite onto your platforms. You've been doing a lot of good stuff, and you've been a man of not a man of mystery, helping people, of color, as we talk about these cash cultures colliding, helping people, men of color, kingdom men, like you said, with velocity banking, with personal finances and responsibility. And I can't wait to team up with you here in July.
Yeah, I think the more people like us get into these different industries, that we're able to bring a new perspective, and I think we're able to also encourage those that are out there watching that are like, hey, where are people like me? What are these people doing? What are they working on? How can I, elevate not only my lifestyle, but the people around me, my neighbors? And when we look at concepts like velocity banking, infinite banking, the concept of banking itself is a critical function for a stable and thriving society. You need banking, right? And what really blows my mind sometimes, whenever I dive deep into the Bible itself and I look at the word and I go back into like the garden setting of it. In the garden, where there were no customers, it was just Adam and Eve, let's say, right? At
Right,
that
right.
at that
Okay.
early stages of the garden, it was just Adam and Eve. God had set up a banking system for them. There was gold in the garden, yet there were no transactions. There was no need to necessarily buy and sell things. Everything was available freely. And even in a freely available, abundant environment, there was still a concept of banking that could have been discovered in that particular garden. So even in a perfect society, there's banking. And I think in today's environment, fast forward, it's 2024 now, we're starting to see the cracks in certain banking systems that are being exposed over the last couple of decades here. And I think COVID really expedited that exposure of the current banking system that we have. And we're seeing different cultures gravitate to different banking systems. One of the most competitive right now that's rising is the crypto space. I mean, it's an
Right.
entirely different type of banking system, one that is with the aim of being anonymous, with the aim of reducing transaction costs, reducing wire fees, reducing where your wealth, your currency is stored in a safe location where it doesn't cost so much money to store. Whereas in our current system, we've got banking fees, monthly fees, wire transfer fees, and there's delays and there's timing and everything, and it creates a lot of stress. Whereas in these alternative parallel economies, such as like the crypto space, and even in the infinite banking world itself, we're starting to see more efficiency occur among certain cultures. But I'm sure you would agree that in the minority communities, we're getting left behind as the world continues to advance and get better and better and more efficient. So, on this channel, and I'm sure you have been doing, and I've seen you speak in person, and I've seen your content, and I've seen clips of you where you actually go out into the world and you're out here like interviewing you and your brother.
There you go.
I'm like, this is really cool to see that kind of content. Whereas typically, what we see pop up on our feeds is, the guy going up to a pretty girl, or a pretty girl going up to a guy, and it's like asking them the dumbest questions in the world, have nothing to do with wealth building, finance. It's like, would you cheat on her for $1 million, or would you take this for this, or kiss or slap or whatever. All this like this degrading content that is
Right.
killing
Right.
our mindset, killing our performance to be effective kingdom citizens on this planet. And so to see someone like you asking, do you know who Nelson Nash is? What is the infinite banking concept? What does it mean for wealth creation in your life? And like random folks on the streets that are not thinking about that, but you ping them, you poke them, and you pique their interest, and that sits with them. It'll sit in their conscious the next time something pops up, because these phones of ours are constantly listening to us. So even if that person wasn't ready for your infinite banking conversation, the phone listened to him or her, you guys talking on infinite banking for a minute, 3 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is. Chances are this device is going to send them material that may interest them, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
that was a lot, and I want to give back to you real quick to see your thoughts on this. This culture of infinite banking and how minorities can really catch on to this and build an environment, a banking system that makes sense for them, as well as our future generations to come.
You said it exactly right. There's so many people out there in the last couple of years, specifically for our age group, but in the last couple of decades, really, who've gotten disenchanted with the banking system, with the financial construct or traditional financial planning in our society throughout the 20th and now into the 21st century. And you're exactly right. They should be. They should be a little bit confused. And we're looking for the people who are ready for a change. And they're upset by what's going on. And they realize there may be alternatives. And because we have a free flowing information highway going live on YouTube, creating this content, more and more people are realizing and seeing quite visually, even when we show them things. Hey, this is not exactly the way it has to be for me. The way it's always been for my family doesn't mean it has to stay this way for me. And you're proving that, of course. First generation guy to check off all these boxes in your particular family. And me and my brother are doing some of those things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the idea behind banking has always been here. Banking has always been around. And in our last several generations, we've given up our control of banking. But it's so foreign to so many of us because it's been given up and it's been automatically direct deposited into a third party system, Bank of America, Wells, Chase, Citi, whoever. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know what I was missing. I didn't know what I didn't know when someone introduced me to infinite banking. This particular marketing term or system or whatever you want to call it. I didn't even know what banking was. What is financing? I just thought you stored your dollars in some other third party depository, and that was the best you could do. You take it out, you work hard, or you invest it. That was it. You just work hard or you invest it. But banking is also a system that we can actually control, influence, and use to our advantage. So that's what we teach people. And so many, like you said, so many cultures are understanding the differences between, what I'm learning in traditional kind of mainstream, whatever's coming down from the government, the White House, or Wall Street, maybe isn't the only way, maybe isn't the best way. And of course, like you said, some of those cryptos and things like that have helped people see that there's another way to transact. There's another way to bank. There are different places to store your money than just in a checking account from a third party bank. So that's what we're trying to help people understand. And we're getting really excited about what's coming up in the next couple of weeks to be able to kind of open people's eyes, change
Yeah.
the game for their whole family.
So what I'd like to do before we share with the audience what we've spent the last couple of weeks, almost a month or two, building out in terms of the workshop that we're going to put together, can you speak to the infinite banking culture? Right? There is a lot of content about what infinite banking is. How does infinite banking work? What's the best policy to do infinite banking? What's the minimum amount that I can pay into a policy to do infinite banking? How can I borrow and invest in real estate? And what's the IRR and rate of return? And all these logistical question facts that people have. But what are some cultural norms in the infinite banking world that when you first entered in, you felt like out of place almost? Because I know I definitely was I was out of place when I first entered into it. And primarily, I was just looking at the logistical facts. How can this help me do this, solve for this, save more money? Got it. Boom, boom, boom. Checking boxes, checking boxes, checking boxes. And then after practicing the infinite banking concept for so many years, I started to realize that little did I know, a culture was developing, a new culture was developing, and whatever I was bringing in to infinite banking was slowly dying out. So if you could speak to the that cultural shock or shift, anything in particular that really stood out to you that now is literally your lifestyle. This is the way you do these certain things. And hopefully those that are watching that are new to infinite banking, they're still either skeptical, they're learning, they're getting educated, they're open-minded, they're taking small steps, and they're trying to make improvements for themselves, their family, and future generations. Can you speak a little bit to the culture part? Because I think when we can really get people to buy into the culture of infinite banking, becoming your own banker, building a banking system in your household economy, then anything else we share that are facts or truths about the concept is gravy at that point. It's a add-on benefit, it's a feature, right? But the culture is where the real gift is, right? The real blessing, I should say.
You've got it nail on the head. Actually, ladies and gentlemen, when what Denzel's saying and why I agree with it is because the culture of infinite banking is the culture of control. That's the culture. There's a couple ways to pull that off. There's a couple different companies in which you can pull that off. There might be an IRR, if you know what that means, of 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, but it's the culture of control. And what we've given up over the course of the last several generations with a huge influx of industry and bureaucracy and large government that has kind of faded away during Denzel and my lifetime a little bit, because now we're in a gig economy and information, and we can kind of do things that are passive, right? Any of us have the internet to figure out our niche and our passive opportunity. That's control. What we're doing right here, going live and reaching anyone who wants to talk to us today. Comment in the chat, give us a thumbs up or a like, subscribe. That's a culture of control. And that's what infinite banking really is. We're going to use certain products. We're going to team up with certain companies. We're going to talk about this one's a little better than this one. But hey, in the kingdom world that also that Denzel and I are a part of, we talk about that too, right? There's this church or this denomination or these groups of songs or something like that. And sometimes we miss the forest through the trees because what we're talking about there is, hey, it's a kingdom culture. And if we're all thinking and believing in one particular mission or mantra or motto when it comes to those spiritual sides of things, you guys know what I'm talking about. I don't want to alienate you if that's not what you're here for. You don't understand yet, but it's the same thing with infinite banking. Infinite banking is going to use a particular product for a specific process. But really, the culture is control. Can you get back in being in control of your dollars? Can you keep them? Can you grow them? Can you limit other people's access to them through taxation, through litigation, through fees? And if you can do that, then I bet you'll understand this product and this process. But that really is the culture. So we're in that zone right now. For those of you who want more control of your dollars, you want your interest to stay with you rather than the dollars that you pay is just someone's passive interest, passive compound interest is just going to other people all the time, right? Every dollar that you make is just heading straight out the door and paying somebody else's passive residual incomes. That then infinite banking is going to be for you, and we look forward to helping you understand that.
That's awesome. So culture of control. I wrote that down. Then I also put right below it liquidity. That was something that was a word that was not used in my financial vocabulary prior to discovering infinite banking. The value of liquidity and control. I know that when I was just working at a job, anything that was discussed about finance was, how you can maybe start a 401k or invest money or save money in a bank, possibly a CD or something like that. And that's just about it. That's about all we hear. And through media, television, right? That's what we hear as well. But we really don't hear a whole lot of this. And I don't know about you, but I get really excited about the direction the world is going in as it relates to media. So in conjunction with these unique strategies, velocity banking, infinite banking, these are what we would call alternative financial strategies to create wealth. They're non-traditional financial strategies, and you've got traditional ones that you hear everyone talk about. Your mom, your brother, your father, your friend, coworker, your boss. It's normal to hear 401k, CD, high yield savings, money market, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. Pretty common. Non-traditional alternative, you start hearing velocity banking, infinite banking, crypto, leveraging, liquidity, control, tax-free, compounding type words that just, and then when you say something like whole life or life insurance, you're just like, what is going on, right? So in addition to that, we've got media, television, and now we've got the age of content creators, right? These alternative social media platforms that are arguably, we look at certain YouTube channels, arguably get more views and more live viewers than say your CNN, your MSNBC, your
Right.
Fox.
Ain't
Of
that
certain,
something?
yeah, that's incredible. The change. So now the opportunity for, I would say, minorities specifically, because I step into these different rooms and I'm like, where are we at? Where are you guys? Where's the Spanish people? Where are the black people at? Right? So I get super excited when I walk into a think tank, right? This is just a most recent example. You walk into a think tank and I could see you from the other side of the room, if you know what I mean, right? Like I just
Right.
point them out.
Right.
I'm like, okay, those are my people. All right, I got two right here, one right there, one in the back. Gotcha. Right? I'm like, those are the people I'm going up to. And then the rest of the crowd is your nice, good old white guy. or
Sure, sure.
and I'm like, man, it is awesome. Like, there's two ways of viewing that. Poor me, where are my people at? Da, da, da. There's the complaining side of it, the victimized side of it. But then there's the, and don't get me wrong, like that definitely comes up. I'm like, dang, that kind of brings it down. The other side of my brain is like, future looks bright, opportunity, a way for me to recruit, invite, and more often than not, those people that say don't look like me are coming up to me, shaking hands, saying, thank you for being here. Like, we want to help you grow. So when you come into it in this collaboration idea that these people are not out to get you, although maybe you might have felt like that in the past. So now we're bringing past experiences into an unknown scenario. So we're assuming that this result will repeat itself. And then when you come to find out, no, there's people on this planet that want nothing more than to expand, perpetuate, give abundance to others. Uh, they've created blueprints where it's like you don't have to try and invent a new wheel. You can literally ride on this path, and it's like least resistance, and you can catch up in the race of life, so to speak, in the race of building wealth in an economic environment that makes sense for you, your family, and so on. So that's what happens to me when I step into these rooms. Talk to me a little about your experience. I think you said 7 years now in the infinite banking space when you first entered in, right? And now literally standing on stages and speaking and sharing the things that you know. How hard was it, or was it a matter of like just naturally things are hard, like hard work, but nobody was gatekeeping, I should say, if that's the proper way to word all of what I'm trying to present to folks that have this fear of stepping out of normalcy, right? Getting into an environment where there's actually people out there. Yeah, they may not look like you, but they're willing to do this. In fact, do this, right? And scoop you right up and put you in an environment where you can accelerate, right? Can you talk to some of the culture of the people in these non-traditional financial spaces where we can reignite the reputation of our culture, um, inject massive amount of capital, education, mentoring, coaching, you name it, opportunities. Talk to me a little about that. Stuff fires
I
me
love
up.
it,
I don't
man.
know about you, but this stuff
Yeah.
fires me up.
So, yeah, like you said, 7 years ago, we started helping other people. And when I say we, we're talking about the Cash Compound team, includes my brother and I, Jonah, who you've met. And 10 years ago, we got into infinite banking. 7 years ago, we started helping people. And if you go back to the Mr. Rogers quote, we all know Mr. Rogers. It's a beautiful day in his neighborhood. And what we learned about the beautiful neighborhood of these people who were doing infinite banking is that quote that Mr. Rogers said that is attributed to him around something was going crazy that he must have seen on television, on the radio, something when he was a kid. And his mother told him, always look for the helpers. When things are going crazy, when things are in chaos, look for the people who are helping. And that's what we found in the infinite banking space. It was a culture not of color. Don't want to throw everybody off too early, but there's a lot of people who, like Denzel said, are in the victimized mentality. But there are a lot of people who have the thought process right. It doesn't matter what they look like. And we found those helpers. They had the thought process right, and they were ready to help us understand what was really going on, how to take financial control of our futures, how to get out of the bonds of slavery economically that we didn't know we were in. Once again, remember, I didn't realize that I didn't have control of the banking function because I didn't know what the banking function was. I didn't understand the F word. I'm working on a new presentation right now, Denzel, called the F word. Sorry, mom, but it's not the word you're thinking. It's finance. I didn't know the word financing, what that meant. All I did was put my money in the bank or have my boss do it, and then draw off of it, withdraw off of it, and go purchase things. Banking and financing was still happening in the background, but all I did was pay cash. Dave Ramsey told me, stack it up, spend it, and go back to zero. Stack it up, spend it, go back to zero. The culture told me, go ahead and watch your money pile up. And if they hate, then let them hate. No, I'm sorry. Go ahead and switch your style up. And if they hate, then let them hate and watch the money pile up, right? And then Dave Ramsey said, just spend it, go back to zero. What these people were helping me understand in the world of infinite banking, and they became the helpers, like Mr. Rogers. They became the people that are reaching out and saying, hey, there's a better way to do this. Did you know that you can save and spend your money at the exact same time? That's what we have called our process and our system, the save and spend system. We're going to teach you how to save and spend your money at the exact same time. Next year, after you've purchased your car, you've paid off your debt, you've saved up and taken your kids out of the grind and put them on a pathway to some other type of educational system, privatized education, home education, you'll still have your money. Wait, what? You will still have your money. It'll still be working for you while you just financed all of your purchases or your debts or your investment opportunities. So, yeah, man, you're exactly right. What we did was we got into the game and we went to a seminar and we saw all those people who are the traditional financial planning type of people, the way they looked, the way they were dressed, but they were talking about something different. We said, these aren't the people we normally bump into and normally see, but they're talking about things like our brains are connecting. They're talking about control. They're talking about let the cat out of the bag a minute ago. Whole life insurance. What the crap? I didn't want to die. I thought we were coming here to learn something about wealth. Now they're going to kill me off, right? Mm-hmm. These white folks, to be like the white man out here, not only do I have to die, Dave Ramsey told me if I bought whole life insurance, I'd have to go to hell. So I have to die and go to hell to be rich. At this point, I might be willing to do it because I'm just sick of this. Maybe I'll just sell my soul. What are we talking about? And so we learned that there were some tools. You mentioned, traditional economics, traditional financials, and we're now doing something way crazy different. What's interesting about that is you have to add in the word traditional financial planning. See, traditional financial planning over the course of the last 90 years is not traditional planning for your finances. It's traditional financial planning in the last couple of generations. What I mean by that, to get nuanced, traditional financial planning has turned into stock market speculation for the average person, the average worker. That's not actually traditional planning for finances. Traditional planning for finances actually is 100 years older, utilizing insurance products, utilizing insurance companies. It's older than the IRS's system that got put into place in 1913. It's non-qualified. That means there are no taxes. There's no tax implications. You don't have to wait till you're 59 and a half. People didn't live that long back then. You died at 60, right? So where did people store their money? They stored it inside life insurance. And that's why we hear on these content creation platforms, people like you and I, who from time to time bring up J.C. Penney, bring up Walt Disney, bring up the Rockefellers. Their money was stored in these traditional planning environments for their finances, and that's always been insurance. Think about the word insurance for a second, all of you out there. And I see we got some comments here. We'll have to check in on one or two of them. Some people asking these questions, hey, how does new things change this? But you got to remember that traditionally, the word insurance takes care of all these problems when it comes to stock market speculation and investment. Insurance means guarantee. That's what the word means. We've got insurance that if I do X, someone else takes care of it with Y. If A happens to me, B will happen from them. That's what insurance is. There is no speculation. A lot of people, when they get into what I do and you do and go live and read the comments and check the DMs, everybody says, well, hey, there's a lot of fees and there's a lot of charges. Well, how do we figure out what those fees and charges are to participate in something like this? And I always remind them, the fee was the money you gave them. The premium, that's the fee.
Yeah.
There's just features after that of what happens. Like, well, how much does it really cost if I'm going to give them $1,000? And I say, well, you gave them $1,000. That's how much it cost.
That's how much
It's
it
what
costs.
happens to that thousand. It's what the features are. What happened? Is it gone? Did you get nothing? If you go to the grocery store with $1,000, they give you $1,000 worth of groceries. If you give an insurance company $1,000, what happened? What do you get? What are
You
the
get way
guarantees?
more than a
What are the
thousand back.
features? Do you get way more than $1,000? So everybody's like, well, it cost a lot of money. I said, hey, you're probably traditionally giving your boss the paperwork that says direct deposit it into my bank accounts on Friday. That's a third party banking system. Go ahead and give it to them automatic on purpose for me. And I said, great. If you do that with your paycheck, your income, that means nearly 100% of the money you made last year went to a third party. How much did that cost you? Because all they gave you there was a debit card. That's it. There was no other features.
Mhm.
They gave you a debit card. That's it. But what if you give it to an insurance company? What happens? And they're like, well, that costs too much. It sounds like that was a very expensive debit card because it cost
Right.
every last one of your dollars. So,
Yeah, they give you
yeah,
the
man. So we're helping
illusion.
people understand that. Yeah.
Right. They give you
Yeah.
the illusion of control with that debit card, right?
Right.
Knowing that,
And they
listen,
give you some security,
some
right? They give you
security.
some security. We all know that. They might give you 1% gain. Interest rates are going up. We understand that, but that's taxable. There is no death benefit. We got to start to really talk about those features because Nelson Nash, the founder of the concept, said it best. If you know what's going on, you'll know what to do. So we're trying to help people know what's going on.
Right. And even as it relates spiritually, when you dive into the word, you're able to know what's going on in the times that you live in. So you can have hindsight based off of history. And then obviously coming back logically here, if we just took some time to look at history and not be so fixated on where can I make the most amount of money, if we stop chasing money and start chasing purpose, start chasing value, start looking for the helpers. That was a big takeaway that I just got from here in our little discussion, was always look for the helpers. That is a strategy in and of itself that I myself have been doing the last really 6+ years. Is I step into a room and I'll network and I'll communicate with folks, and you can always spot out a helper, right? That's the person that is the first to give their information, the first to pass you on, to give you a referral, to introduce you to someone else. That's in the networking sense. But then taking it even a step further, especially in today's environment, when you have a social media platform, even if you only have 500 subscribers, 100 subscribers, or no subscribers, whatever, you just open up a free account and you start connecting with helpers. The first thing they want to do is help you grow, help you build, help you get out there, get your voice out there, speak more. They want to leverage your skills and gifts and talents, put you in an environment where they can be used and you can be paid abundantly as a result of your service, right? So always looking for the helpers. That was a really, really huge one right there. And let's see. Let's. I do want to address that question because while you were discussing, you wanted to address this right here, from Tiana or Taina. She's like, how will any of the infinite banking going to change with crypto coming into play, which its main purpose is to regain control and become your own decentralized banking system. So I think I understand where she's going with that, or what the concern would be. Before you answer that, maybe we should definitely maybe kind of illustrate for folks what the current environment looks like. So I would say we've got probably like three different things going on. You've got just traditional banks, right? And they deal in dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we come over here to IBC world, IBC world, life insurance, we are funding with our US dollars, specifically just staying in the United States here, using US dollars to fund a life insurance policy. We're paying a premium, right? and then there's a cash value function. That cash value is in dollars. When we extract money out of our
Right.
cash value via loans, it goes back into a bank, and then it lands in our checking account and we spend the money. Tiny's question is, what happens when this crypto space, DeFi, right, decentralized finance, when that becomes the dominant? So this would have to fail in order for this to become the dominant, or this continues to proceed as the dominant and takes over crypto as CBDC, central bank digital currency, right? CBDCs.
There you go. Right.
So it's going to be one of the two. Either the people will rebel, they will destroy and start anew. So that would be this right here, a crypto fully digitalized virtual type of a currency that's borderless and free of government control, run by and for the people in conjunction with AI, let's say, and accountability and all this stuff. Or the people lose in their rebellion and they end up settling somewhere in the middle of a central bank digital currency. In either of these two scenarios, what happens over here, Jeremiah, with
Yes.
IBC?
Okay. That's a great question.
I
And
feel
I
like
know
that's her
you
question.
and I get this. Yes. And we get that question a lot. I'm sure both of us do.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of things that we want to, if we got your question right, John, appreciate you throwing it in the chat. Anybody else with questions, comments, and concerns, let us know. We're here for you. Number one is we trade the goods and services that we need. Crypto does not feed us, the food feeds us. And we don't drive around in crypto. We drive around in cars and trucks. We also do not wear crypto. We trade the currency for the goods and services that bring us value. So, whatever the currency is, that's what we need to trade for the things we really want. So, a lot of people say, well, if the US dollar fails or we don't use it anymore, what you've got to remember is that two things. One, there's a lot of questions that are unanswered. If the United States dollar, USD, because that's also a digital currency, most of the dollars you and I deal with and Tiana deals with, it's digital. It's not actually physical anymore. Most of it is all electronic and magnetic as well. It affects a lot of things, not just this. And you're probably not asking McDonald's in your grocery store, hey, McDonald's grocery store, you're really going to have to get on your game here because, Bitcoin is taking over. You've never said that to your grocery store. And there's a reason for that because they use dollars
Mm-hmm.
and you take dollars over there. So why would you actually pinpoint this one system when the entire system still trades currency? The currency that we can use is decentralized in some formats because you can use Bitcoin for certain things or other digital currencies, as well as dollars still get used. But you can store, wherever you'd like. And if dollars can be traded for crypto, if you look at crypto and says, hey, man, one Bitcoin is worth $60,000, then apparently you're not that worried about it. Because we still trade the dollars for the things we want. So we don't have to be as concerned about it as I think most people think. Second, of course, you can always trade these currencies for each other. So in the event that these dollars are not what you want to be trading, or you can't trade them anymore for other types of currency, then trade them now if you like. Remember, this system of infinite banking continually kicks off increasing income tax free dollars. And if you don't like them, trade them for Bitcoin. No big deal.
Yeah.
That's
And
how I normally answer that question. So it kind of lets people off the hook, and it also puts
right.
them back on the hook and saying, "Hey, man, if you're not dealing in crypto and Bitcoin and Ethereum at your grocery store, then why are you asking me?"
Right. Here's the other thing that I like to bring up with the client or the prospect or a hater in the comment section, whatever it is.
Right, right, right,
I I come back to, wait a minute, what's the alternative? If I don't store my money here, are you only storing your money in crypto? And what happens when you need to, quote unquote, buy cars, pay your rent, your mortgage, your food? So for the time being, you still need to deal in dollars. Now let's run through your scenario. Back to my point, there's only two. If the people rebel, you have to understand what rebel really truly means in the context of the scenario you gave me of no longer dealing in dollars. You understand that if we, United States of America, and the rest of the world no longer deals in dollars, my friend, you may not even be speaking English in the next 2-3 decades.
right,
There's going to be a
right.
whole new regime. So you and I are not going to be concerned of how much my cash value is worth at that point. Does it devalue? Does it increase? I'm like, buddy, there's a whole nother set of problems that you have not addressed to get to the conclusion of my whole life insurance policy is now dealing in yen or dealing in rubles or in gold or whatever it is. You have to backtrack and say, wait a minute, when did the rebellion occur? Who's now in charge? What's the new government enroll? Am I still speaking English? Where am I living? Did I have to migrate? Was there a war? Who won? Right? Like, take me through that process. And once you do, you may not even get to this point because, listen, we may not be here, right? There's that
Right,
possibility.
right.
There's war, there's death, there's resurrection, there's all this stuff that may occur to get to that. So, what I often see is people will try to pull from wherever they can, Jeremiah, to either make sense of their own normal financial situation, not knowing that you're in bondage, you're in chains. And when the truth teller comes and says, here's how you become free, oftentimes they attack the truth teller, right? They attack the
Yes,
quote unquote the
right,
prophet, the Messiah,
right.
the
The
one,
helpers, the
the
helpers, right.
helpers, right? The ones that want to see you win. So there again, going back to the culture of how you're coming into this live stream, how you're coming into this environment. You've got some cultures, those that are watching, and even myself and Jeremiah, that when we first get introduced to this, there's some cultural things that we're gonna have to let go of that have served us only to a certain extent, right? They've served us in terms of maybe helping us make sense of the world around us, avoiding fear, preventing anxiety, stress, depression from occurring. Because if I can just stay in this bubble, I don't have to worry about what's going on. Yeah, just automate my checking and automate my investing and automate this and hope and pray. It's a hope and pray strategy that you'll get a rate of return of however much over 40 years and then retire peacefully. That is no longer the case. Like, we now get to interview, or I've been having the privilege of working with people 59 and up the last 6 years. And
Hmm.
I have not met one person, Jeremiah, that told me that their social security, their 401k, and maybe a pension, say those three things, not one of these people have told me that they have enough money left over at the end of the month to live the lifestyle they want that they worked so hard for the last 40 years. Their 401k, their social security, and their pension is not enough. So it begs the question, like, okay, 59-year-old, 65 years old, you said you worked the last 40 years and you paid off all your debt by making extra payments. You saved money in a bank account. You invested 20% of your 15% of your paycheck in 401ks and IRAs and whatever the case may be. You bought term and invested
Right.
the difference. You did everything right. And you're telling me you don't have financial freedom and independence at 65
In the right in the richest country
in the world.
in the history of the world, not just in
History.
the world, in the history of the world.
Yeah.
We've got more resources and opportunity and economic freedoms, okay? Economic freedoms, meaning that there's less of a class and caste system. Doesn't matter what color you are. People flock to this country, and the borders open or close, they're still trying to get in. Why? Because this is the last shot we got. This is the last economic freedom opportunity that exists. There are a few other cultures that are close, of course, right? There are free countries for sure. And there are some economic countries that exist, economic culture communities, even in the East or whatever, outside of these United States. However, in this environment, if you follow the rules of the traditional financial planning, you've given up and you've abdicated, right? We're going to talk about kingdom. We're going to talk about jurisdiction in July. You've abdicated, giving up the authority to someone else. And in that process, taxes are going up. Inflation is nuts. Anybody out there enjoying what's happened in inflation in the last few years? You guys remember 222? You could get a couple of Big Macs or a couple of Whoppers back in the day. 222, right? 4 for $4 at Wendy's. What is it? 4 for $11 these days,
My God.
right? If
Gone.
you give up those freedoms and you let the government inflate the money supply, the hidden tax, it doesn't matter who's in charge as long as they keep expanding the money supply. Insurance, control, decentralization, even crypto, they do not expand the money supply. It doesn't work like that. And because of that, you can be in control, and the commerce is completely handled by people who want to transact with each other.
Hmm.
All the government should be doing, if you want to get economic out here, you want to get Nelson Nash out here, Murray Rothbard out here, right? If you want to get the fee, right? Foundation for Economic Education. If you want to get all that out here, the government should only be here to enforce the contracts that private citizens and groups make with each other. That's it.
That's it.
That's all the government should do. That's Old Testament. Y'all want to get Sunday school up here. That's the judges in with God's people. All that they do, there's no need for a king for a while, and the judges, all they did was rule over contract disputes between the people.
That's it.
So that's it. That's what they did. So, and then of course, when they wanted a ruler, right? God's people wanted a ruler in the Old Testament. God said, bad idea. You sure? And they kept saying it. Everybody else has it, so we should do it too.
Yep.
Ladies and gentlemen, we can be smarter than that. And we still have the freedoms of speech and the freedoms of press. That's kind of what we're doing here, right? On the free market, as close as we can to free market YouTube and other content creation sites. We're trying to be the helpers. We're trying to be the helpers. So
Yep.
I love it, man.
And so as we begin to close out here soon, there's two opportunities for those that are watching. The first opportunity is you're getting education to implement these non-traditional financial strategies that Jeremiah and I are going to go through in this workshop together. So getting registered for that, I have a link that's been running the whole entire time in the chat that you can be a part of. You can get in there and I'll have it on the screen. I'll bring it up on the screen real quick for those that can, take a screenshot. You want to register for that, right? In addition, though, instead of just being a consumer all the time, I'm not saying this second opportunity is for everyone, but it's definitely something to absolutely consider in your journey to creating wealth, if this makes sense for you. But the second opportunity is, could you be another Jeremiah? Could you be another Denzel? Could you be another Nelson Nash? Another helper? Meaning you step from the consumer side and you come over to the producer side, the creator side,
Right.
and you become a servant leader in the economy. So not only are you helping yourself win, but now you get to serve others. And when you serve others, there is financial transactions that occur that increase your lifestyle, that increases your position of influence and authority in the marketplace. And so we're gonna dive into really how that can occur, like these two pieces. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be me becoming a life insurance agent, but there's something that each and every one of us have that's watching. We've got 27 people in the house, right? And those that catch the replay, we all have something that we can bring to the table. And my whole thing is, before you lease out your skills, gifts, and talents to a higher governmental power, before you acquiesce, before you sign every adhesion contract of all your skills, gifts, and talents, I'm simply saying, hey, you're a creator. So when you stand in the position of creator, you're in the highest position of wealth creation, is to create. You're stepping in that environment where you literally have the ability to create wealth out of thin air because you're a creator through servant leadership. And then from there, you're managing and delegating and multiplying the fruit that you bear. And hopefully it's good fruit. So being able to have both consuming, because we all consume things, but also the piece of production. When you have production, when you have creation, you now can influence the culture of your neighborhood, of your family, your nation. And if you're influencing the culture, then it becomes the new norm. Infinite banking is a norm in Nelson Nash's household. May he rest in peace, right? In the IBC think tank community, infinite banking is a norm. It's a cultural norm. For Jeremiah and myself, infinite banking has become the normal environment, but will always be looked at least for the next, I don't know however many more years it'll take for this to go fully mainstream here. There's a lot of
There you
people
go.
working. There's a lot of people working real hard to bring this strategy and bring this method out because it's so sound, right? It's sound money lending. It's sound finance. It's effective. It's efficient. It's tax free, and it really exaggerates performance on every other thing you touch. It puts you in a position of authority. It really truly does, right? And with proper education and coaching and strategists in your corner, building that financial dream team of yours of success. Oh my goodness, right? I can go on and on this all day long. But the more I talk like this, the more of a culture I'm establishing, because I'm not just doing it for clicks. I'm not just doing it for likes. I'm not just doing it for subscribes. I'm not just doing it for the fame. This goes deeper into really capturing the culture of not just infinite banking, right? That's the discussion here today. But it also becomes like the culture of how you think as it relates to finance in general, how you process decisions, who you spend time with, the helpers of the world, how you increase control in the things that you do and stay liquid, right? So I'm going to stop there and pass it back to you, Jeremiah. Any final remarks, action steps for this workshop we got going on, and what they can do in the meantime to maybe prep, right? Any content you want to lead them to, anything like that before we go.
You said it well, man. I'm going to close things out with, if you'd like to join us in July, starting on the holiday, the 4th of July, the Freedom Day, ladies and gentlemen. We got Black Freedom coming up Juneteenth. That's next week if you're watching this live, right? Then we've got 4th of July, and that's when America as a whole celebrates it. That's our first Thursday of July that we're going to be going through. We've got some great chapters in our story that we're going to bring you. We are going to break things down. Denzel, it's been great to partner with you and think about this and talk about this as we've collaborated and decided what we're going to bring to everybody. We are going to break down infinite banking for you, okay? Judy, Kim, they've got something to say here, so we'll check on that here in 1 second. I want to echo what Denzel said. First off, you get your mind right. And when you get your mind right, you start doing better. You start thinking better, you start doing better. Then how can I be one of those helpers? I love the way you put that, right? We're riffing off each other, and you using stuff that I said, and I'm using stuff that you said now, because there's more than one way to be a helper. Doesn't mean you have to be an insurance producer, although maybe Judy is already in that space. But see, when we are able to be an entrepreneur, create something out of nothing, and be a helper financially, that might be coming from the fact that we now have free pools of controllable capital that we can inject to people's lives. Because what if you can be the conduit between someone's problem and their solution? That's what capital and cash does. That's what having control, and in a free market society, that's what we're able to do now. Money is only the tool we use to live an abundant life. It's a tool that we need down here. We transact in these key ways with currency. So you need money, you need it to be free. And like Nelson Nash said, you need it to move quickly between people. If it doesn't move rather quickly between people, it's no good. So let's challenge all of our thinking about these traditional financial products in the last 60, 70 years, like 401ks. Because if the money cannot move quickly between people, what good is it doing? So, how can you become one of those helpers? You're going to have to get your mind right first. Okay, so to get your mind right, we're going to help you do that because so far we're the helpers. We're looking for more, but right now we're looking for you to register. And secondly, in the meantime, I love that question here. Reminder, you're going to want Nelson Nash's book. If you've never really heard of, or you have heard from influencers and content creators like Denzel and me, if you've heard of infinite banking, but you've never heard of Nelson Nash, or you never heard of his book where he codified and wrote down what it is, it's time to get it. Because you can get a lot of stuff on the internet, and a lot of stuff is good. More stuff is bad, a lot of stuff is good. But if you never go to the source, how do you know that you're on the right track? There's so many people out there bastardizing infinite banking, using bogus products for it, talking about it in a poor way. So just go to the source. It's a book that you can get. There's been millions and billions of people who've lived before 2024, and a decent amount of them have written down a lot of good ideas in some books that you guys can read. So go get the book and just look at it because they already wrote it down for you. So Becoming Your Own Banker, 5th edition, Becoming Your Own Banker, 5th edition, R, the letter R, Nelson Nash. That's what you want to find. I'm going to go ahead and register. It's a free workshop and seminar every Thursday in July. Denzel and I are coming to you. It's going to be really, really great. We're going to break down cash cultures. We're going to take his culture, my culture, and maybe the mainstream culture, and we're going to boom, smash them up together. Cash cultures collide. We're going to walk and talk you through how to do this for yourself.
Yes, absolutely. And just know, some of you are like thinking culture is not always color, right? Something like you just said, the culture, mainstream culture is a culture not predicated on a skin tone. It's a characteristic as well. So we're going to be breaking that down, how it's like, wait a minute. Yeah, I'm Spanish, but do I have to adopt this supposed culture of what Spanish people do? Is
Right.
that, like, when you actually look at the root of where did that actually come from? Wait a minute, that wasn't actually started in the Spanish community, or that wasn't actually started in the Black community. That was injected. That was provided. That was initially given as an influence. And then all of a sudden, the leaders took it and ran with it. And now here we are, right? So we're going to break some of that stuff down to say, like, when you have a financial breakthrough, I don't know about you, Jeremiah, but I do coaching with clients all day long. That's what I do, is financial coaching one-to-one. And I got courses and programs and content and all this stuff. But one of the best joys of coaching people is when they finally have the light bulb moment. It's not when they made the most amount of money, the highest ROI, or they bought the policy and I got paid a commission. It's really the light bulb moment when they realize a breakthrough that they literally let go of. So that might have been a culture, that might have been some kind of a bad habit, or it might have been an enlightening moment of a particular strategy that just unlocked 15 other problems that they immediately just solved through breakthrough, right? It's discovery, breakthrough, and then they're now able to enter into masterful living, right? They live a masterful life based on what their skills, gifts, and talents are, based on what God's will is for their life, right? Just that right there is what I hope I can help facilitate in this workshop coming up in July. And just know that we're not going to leave you hanging high and dry when it's done, and we're still going to be here. We're going to be available. This is what we do. This is what we love to do. We love to serve. And teaming up and collaborating, man, in this environment looks totally different than what our precept is as it relates to collaboration. It means one has
That's
to
right.
compromise for the other to win, and today it's not like that. It's like there could be a win-win-win scenario. Win for me, win for Jeremiah, the cash compound crew, win for you, the consumer, the customer, and eventually, hopefully one day, becoming the helper in your own right. So let's address these last two questions. Okay, hopefully you guys have been enjoying this. And then we will close out. So Judy says, I'm a life insurance agent. I'm interested in getting in infinite banking as an agent. Great place to start, as you mentioned, would be the source. And then there's the IBC think tank that you can attend that event. You can just get around people. I only know of two major events. You've got IBC think tank and you've got the And Asset Mastermind, which is happening at the end of this month. So Judy, if you
Yes.
don't know about that one and you're available or you're in the Denver, Colorado area, that may be an event you might want to attend because literally everybody in the infinite banking space is going to be there pretty much. All the top players in the world attend the And Asset, and then the top players are attending IBC Think Tank. So those are the only two events that I know so far. It's still a small world. That's the other thing I'm like super psyched about, where I'm like, my
Right. Right.
goodness, I don't feel like I'm competing with anyone. I'm just like in my own lane, and I've got all this opportunity. And you start when you step out of infinite banking, you feel lost. Like you don't know where to go. There's so many people to target that don't know what the heck you're talking about. You get into the infinite banking world, sometimes you feel like, oh no, where's the customers at? But that's not the case. Like there's a major opportunity. So for Judy, is a major strategy, major opportunity for you to implement in your insurance practice, because not everything is infinite banking. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? And there's other products that you can deliver. So that's great. And then Kim says, culture of control. Life insurance definitely works and provides liquidity, no tax penalties. You borrow from yourself and tax free. I've used it. Having liquidity is key and truly a blessing. Thanks for sharing. Thank you for speaking up. Had a call with Kim recently. Awesome lady. Tampa DW4, can we convert 401k to a life insurance policy? You want to tackle that one?
Sure. Now, technically, let's get into that one. A first technical question for the
Right.
afternoon as we close up. Appreciate you, Tampa. So there's a line down the middle between qualified and non-qualified. We've heard of qualified plans. They're all the ones with numbers on it and several of the other things that are mainstream traditional financing practices. 401k, 403b, 529, right? Those types of things. That means there's tax implication somewhere. That's what that means. Non-qualified, unqualified. That's where insurance is. Insurance is not a product of the tax code, not a product of the government. So if you cross over that line, most people have dollars saved up and invested is the real word, but they think it's saved in 401k and they cross over that line, there will be a tax consequence. So I want you to understand that. The rollover idea, right? Convert is the word you use. Rollover is something that we traditionally use if we're going from one 401k to the next one. There's no tax event. If you cross over that line to non-qualified, then there is a taxable event. There's also penalties, of course, if you're not of age in your 401k, 59 and a half, and things like that. So you can do, we've all heard of rollover. We've all heard of 1031 exchanges if we're into real estate. That means there's not going to be a taxable event as we put equities or buy new houses or properties. In the insurance world, you can do the same thing, but you can't cross the line. So 1035 exchange in the insurance world, annuities, life insurance products can be exchanged for each other. If you don't want one anymore, it's not the right one, you didn't want it, and you move cash from one to the other. So if you cross the line, Tampa, yes, you can do it, but remember, you're going to have your penalties, your taxes, or your fees, or whatever's going on if you move across that line. So hopefully that's helpful to you. There's still a lot of people who decide because of the control, the culture of control, the liquidity, as Denzel talked about earlier, they still might choose to do it,
Yep.
even if they're going to have a hit or a penalty. But we'll talk about that on a one-on-one type of free free coaching call.
Absolutely. And there is a cost to building your kingdom. There's a cost to building your bank. There's a cost to freedom. And that is the biggest objection, holdup, obstacle, challenge that everyone watching you will have, that Jeremiah clearly drew. He said, there is a line. And when you cross over that line, you're relinquishing your obligations over here. But just know that because you're operating within a system, a governmental system that has fees, has cost, has control, has power over you in many areas of your life, that before you go, they're going to get their hit. They're going to take their, because at the end
Right.
of the day, if you really think about it, when you really look at the codes and you really look at at the rules behind these different types of accounts, you're not truly the owner. A lot of people think they own their 401k. Like that's a big whoa. Like you you actually don't own your 401k. Most
Right.
people have no idea that that's actually, like what I just said is technically a half truth. Like it says your name on it and you have access into some capacity and there's certain things that you can do with it, but there is a level of control and ownership that you did give up in a life insurance participating mutually held life insurance company. There's true 100% ownership in that contract that exists. And there's a relationship. And you want that relationship to be successful because of how it predates certain governmental systems that you now live in. So I'm going to stop there because I'm going to go too long. And I dump on people too much sometimes, give them too much information. They're like, oh my goodness, we gotta have a one-to-one. We gotta dive into this. So that's what the workshop's gonna be all about, where I can take the time and really just like lay it out to you. And we're gonna go back and forth. We're gonna do Q&A. There's gonna be interaction, and you're gonna have the support that you need to move forward, even after the workshop is completed. So with that, thank you again, Jeremiah, for spending some time with me and my audience. And I look forward to many more collaborations and serving more people as the helpers of our generation, right? And we get to go out there and really set new paths and fortify existing ones for current generations and next generations to proceed and have success. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it, Denzel. Yeah, Denzel, appreciate it. Love it. We'll catch you guys in July. Appreciate you.
Awesome.
Peace.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. God bless. We'll be talking soon.